Lots of people here this week, which is great. It's great to have more people joining the Adelaide Hug. It's a bit weird calling it a hug still, but we're just a big hug. So today we have our team of two. So I am Ryan. I'm the founder and CEO here at Refuel Creative. And to my right, I had to double check that, is Ollie.
This is starting well.
Our account strategist. And today we're going to talk all about HubSpot reports. Seems to be a really misunderstood topic in the HubSpot world, Ollie.
Yeah, I guess because people by default tend to find reporting boring. So they don't necessarily put in the effort into it and take the time to actually build nice reports. But as you said, it's a misunderstood, and because great reporting can actually really help your business and really help you use HubSpot to its full potential.
Well, they say that what can be measured can be improved. And I'm a big fan of the dashboards that Ollie's going to talk about today.
Yep.
Because it's just a quick, easy way of being able to grab your numbers. There's nothing worse than, well, for me, I hate having to prepare reports, but I like being able to just log in and see them.
Yeah.
That's my dream.
Yeah, it's fair.
So if HubSpot could automatically show us reports, then that's a pretty good win.
Yeah, exactly. All right.
So,
should we get to it?
Mechanics today, I've just opened up the Q&A. We've got the general chat going as well. So if you've got any questions as we go through today, throw them into the Q&A or the general chat. And I will check those over for Ollie and flick them over to him. But I will hand over to Ollie to get started with some reports.
All right, cool. Just checking that my screen's actually...
Not yet. Carol's going to flick that over in a sec.
Yep.
And just somebody, as soon as I said that, we got a question came through. Yes, we will be recording today for you and we'll be putting them up. We've been putting all the HubSpot user groups on the Refuel YouTube channel. We're probably a little one behind, I think.
Yeah, possibly.
But you'll find them all on there. Like and subscribe. Is that what you're supposed to add?
Cool. So firstly, to start with, why do you need reports? So there's basically three main points why you would want to report. You might want to improve the efficiency of your processes or of your business. You can use reports to increase revenue by identifying where it comes from and who's most likely to buy from you. Or you can use reports to review or increase your KPIs and performance. So before you start building reports, things to consider. Firstly, review your data. It's pretty important to make sure that the data is accurate. You can always fix it over time, but it's better to make sure that the data is accurate right from the start. Don't be afraid of creating specific properties for your reporting needs in HubSpot. We'll go through a couple of reports that are actually that we've created properties for. And don't forget to review and modify or improve your reports over time. It's especially important to review them early on once you've already created them, just to make sure that the data is coming in nicely and that it looks accurate. So we'll go through a bunch of reports that we've created either for ourselves or for clients. We'll split them through specific hubs. We're not going to show exactly how we set them up, but we'll just explain the reports to give you hopefully an idea or to give you some ideas to make your own reporting. But if you like a specific report and you really want to make it for yourself and you don't know how to build it, just flick us an email and we'll be happy to help you with that. All right. So in terms of Service Hub, one thing that you might want to report on is quality control. So this report we've done for a client aims to answer two main questions. What are the most common issues faced by clients? And have there been more issues than usual over a period of time? So this uses the ticket category, which is either manually selected by the ticket owner or by the client if they make their own ticket in a customer portal. And you can see that it's divided by month and it's divided by category. So we've got product issues, we've got software issues, and so you can see what kind of issues you've got mainly. And if that balance changes over time, and you can also see the load of ticket that you get month after month. So for example, here we can see that the orange bits are the product issues. So for that client, the most issues are product related. So if we go to the next report, we've got here, this one is one that works together with the previous one, is product issues per component. So this looks at the product issues and looks at what part of the product clients are having issues with. And same thing, does that change over time? So we've got different categories. For example, if you look at March and April, you can see that there was a lot more purple than usual, which means that that bit of the product you might need to have a look at it because there's more issues lately than there were previously. Before that, there's not much purple, so probably something happened with a batch of products or something changed. You know, if you you can sell software, and if you did an update and something's not, you realize you've got more issues with the software than usual, that might be because something's broken with your latest update. So this is based on a subcategory. So the category is a product issue. The subcategory looks at what part of the product is having an issue. And that's, for that client, we've added that through a workflow. So it's a property that looks at specific keywords in the ticket description to try to identify what is wrong with the product. Just checking if...
Yep, you're going.
Yep, all right. So another thing you might want to have a look at with your tickets is time to close, so the customer service efficiency of your business. So this report is based on the time to close default property, so that is in a HubSpot straight off the bat. It could be based on an SLA that you set up instead of the time to close. For example, for us, for our tickets, instead of reporting on time to close, we want to report on what's the difference between our SLA and the amount of time that a ticket takes to be closed. So for example, if we've got a website issue, we know that if it's a small issue, we'd probably want to fix it within a day, but website issues can be quite deep, if I can say, and can take a couple of weeks to fix. So we're not necessarily wanting to look at getting tickets closed as quickly as possible, all of them within a day, for example, but depending on the issue, tell the client this will be fixed in X amount of days and look at the difference was it closed within that time frame, or did it go over? But anyway, back to that report. So this one is looking at tickets and the time it takes to close them. It's dividing in through month. Yeah, sorry. That should be all right. Okay. So it's divided in months so that we can see the evolution as well. And what it's looking at is the time to close based on the ticket priority. So in red is high priority, in yellow is medium, and in green is low. So with that, we can see, do we close tickets faster over time? As in last month, did we close them faster than the month before? And do we close the important tickets faster than the less important ones? This is pretty similar, this one. This is based on a property clients fill out on a customer portal when they create their ticket. It basically is asking them what impact this issue has on their business, if it really completely breaks their business, if it creates issues but that they can work around, or if it's not that critical. And so this report gives you the exact same time divided per month, the time to close, based on the seriousness of the issue. So same thing with this one, we can report on, have a look at, do we close tickets faster over time, and do we close the important tickets, the tickets that really are critical to close in a short amount of time, do we close them faster than the less important ones? Another thing you might want to look at with tickets is the time in your ticket stages, or I should say status, because HubSpot calls them ticket status. So you've got your ticket pipeline, you might have customized that. And so this report looks at the average time that is spent in each stage. So that's based on an entered, whatever stage, property, which is a date picker, and a time spent in that particular stage, which is a calculation property. So you've got that for each stage. That report you can actually do straight off the bat in service analytics, but you can only divide it through reps, I believe. And here what we wanted to do is to split it between the different issues. So you can see on the left we've got our product issue, then we've got our training issue, software issue. So we split them like that. And we're looking at the time it takes in each stage for each ticket. So yeah, you can see that, for example, for product issues, it takes us 3.7 days. That's actually not us. I don't know why I say us. It takes 3.7 days for a ticket to leave the new ticket stage, which is probably not good enough. Sorry. Got a bit of a cold earlier this week. So.
Yeah, so like Ollie was saying, for us, and when somebody sends a ticket into us, they're not always emergency tickets. Sometimes they're just requests. And so for us, the time in that initial triage stage, we want to be as short as possible. But then once it's left that triage stage, then depending on the complexity of the request, that might be a longer task or a shorter task. So we prioritize how quickly it gets triaged, and then we still monitor how long it takes for the tasks as a whole to be completed. And we also look at tasks that are in, say, waiting for customer stage, because we're trying to find ways that we can make sure that we're getting the tickets done as quickly as possible. And sometimes that just means waiting for clients to get the information that we need.
That's a great point for having a look at that is because that kind of report helps you find bottlenecks. And so, yeah, if you've got a waiting on customer stage for your tickets and you find that on average tickets spend 20 days in that stage, you might find out that there's an issue there. So you might create automation to follow up your customers a little bit more often, that kind of stuff. So it really helps you find bottlenecks, and you can divide it between categories to find, for example, for us, website issues. We actually spend a lot of time analyzing, finding what exactly is wrong, when something else like a social media, like a Facebook ad account issue, we might actually just spend a lot of time chasing Facebook up, for example.
Yeah, not that that ever happens, but yeah, absolutely. Sometimes it's waiting for a vendor, and anyone who's ever had to chase Facebook for anything would know that sometimes that takes a long time.
Yes.
But we keep the tickets open so that we know what's going on with them. And this isn't a Service Hub webinar, but a webinar or a hug. But we do things like if it's sitting in processing, and so that sits with us to do. The person who's assigned to that task is getting reminders, particularly through Slack for us, to make sure that they're actually doing what they need to do. Whereas if it's in waiting for customer status, ours is set up so that you've actually got to enter what we are waiting for from the client. And that just means that the client's going to get an email that says, hey, you still want to do this? We need some more information from you. And the amount of times that there just is a miscommunication or something like that, the client thinks they're waiting for us and they've missed an email or something like that, it just ensures that everybody's on the same page and everyone's getting what they need done.
And if you want more details on that, that was actually our last hug. So check it out.
I should get that recording done if it's not.
All right, another thing, and that's a very quick win. This report is to look at the workload and the amount of tickets that are assigned to a specific person. So it's a very simple report to set up. You just look at your active tickets and who are they assigned to. But it can be important to find out, to figure out if you need to hand off tickets to someone else. If someone in your business has got 50 tickets that someone else can do, and those someone else don't have any tickets allocated to them, you can probably just pawn off a few of those tickets. And in this example, for example, Adam is our web developer. He's got the most tickets and he's currently on holidays. So we might have a look at that and reassign those tickets to someone else. So it's a very simple report, but very important. It's really a quick win, that one. Other considerations for Service Hub reports. Tickets by source, so to find out where your tickets are coming from. Do they come from the customer portal, from email mostly? Do you create them manually? Ticket volume over time, so as we've been through, you can sort of include it into other reports, but it's good to know if you're getting a lot of tickets sometime specific during the year or something like that. Response time, I don't think that differs for any business. You really want your response time to be as quick as possible with any tickets. Conversations, you can actually create reports about conversations, and the same thing, the response time of your staff in the conversation inbox. Templates and snippet use, you can have a look at what snippets are used by your team the most often, which can really give you valuable insights into what your customers are actually having issues with or what information they're looking for.
If a snippet's getting used all the time and you don't have it in your knowledge base, that's a pretty
there you go.
Pretty good quick win.
Feedback and sentiment. Obviously, if you send feedback surveys after a project is done or after a ticket is closed, you probably want to report on that and to see where you can improve. Knowledge base articles as well. You can have a look. It's pretty similar to the templates and snippets. It's if you see that a knowledge base article is getting seen 500 times more than others, that's probably like have a look at if you can make whatever that article talks about, make it easier for your clients. And customer service reps activity and performance. So to check on your customer service team and what they are doing to help your customers. We'll go through that with the Sales Hub reporting because we've got a couple of reports in there about the sales reps activity and performance, and that's pretty much the same kind of reports. So talking about that, Sales Hub. So one thing that you might want to look at is your reps performance. So for example, this one that we've done for a client looks at so this was done for each rep, having a look at do they actually work on lead generation. So that looks at the number of deals and amount that they've created by themselves, so that were created with an offline source. And that looks at how much revenue those sales reps are generating on their own. So you can see on the right-hand side, that's the amount of all of those deals that they've created through offline sources. And on the opposite, you can do the same kind of report on how much is generated through your marketing efforts, through your social media, through your ads. You can have the same kind of report. In terms of activity, it's pretty easy to report on that in HubSpot. These are a couple of examples, but you're basically wanting to look at what are your reps doing to get more deals or to close the deals that are open. So you can filter by activity type, by meeting or call type, for example, an exploratory call, or just a follow-up meeting. You can filter by result or outcome as well. If every time you've got a meeting, you have to put an outcome, as in it was a successful meeting, the lead is not a good fit or something like that. You can actually filter those reports so that you can look at activity and at the results of those activities. So for example, here we've got two pretty simple reports. The first one, and again, that was done for each rep. The first one looks at the activity in the past year by month, what kind of activity was done. You can see that mostly it was email. So a lot of emails sent, but not a lot of calls. So if you actually find that deals are dropping off, maybe have a look at having a bit more calls. If you send 4 emails to a lead and they're not answering, then you might want to give them a call. So that can give you that kind of insight. And the second report is the calls. So again, that was actually weekly in the last 60 days. So that looks at the calls and the calls outcomes. So it's a bit boring there because they were all connected. They all tell you out of the 10 calls this week, 5 were connected, 2 went to voicemail, and let's say 3, yeah, I said 10, so that would be 3, didn't go anywhere. And you can also, one thing that we found is pretty useful is if you do that per rep, so you create those reports for each rep, it's good to compare to company averages. So you can create those exact same reports for your whole company and look at the reps data compared to your company average. So you might find that John tends to send a lot more emails than the rest of your team. So then maybe that's a conversation we have to have with John, is to actually call people a little bit more. All right. Forecasting as well. So there's plenty that you can report on, and HubSpot has straight off the bat a lot of forecasting reports. One that's always useful is deal funnel. So that's the one at the top here, and it basically looks at your deal stages and how many of your deals are going through all of those stages. So you can set it up so that a deal has to go through each stage, but in this case you can see, for example, that verbal acceptance has less than order shipped. That's because we're having a look at deals that are actually going through this stage, but they don't have to go to stage 1, then stage 2, then stage 3. The pipeline value is also good to have a look at, so that you can actually forecast a bit better, and you can divide that like we've done here through stage. So I can see what's in the pipeline and in a particular stage. So prospects is in that pipeline, the first stage of the pipeline. You can see that it's about, let's call that a third of my pipeline value is in that stage, which is the least likely to close. So that gives you insights on how many leads or how many deals do you need to reach your financial goals. And over time, as you report on that, you'll get more and more accurate.
It's really important because sometimes we try to make assumptions, and we've got the numbers now, we've got them right in front of us, and we can track them in real time. So I think that's super valuable.
So we've been through a lot already. So we'll just pause for a second to check that firstly everyone's still awake, and if there are any questions.
Well, everyone's still here, so I can't vouch for them being awake, but they haven't left, so I would assume maybe they're around, or maybe they're asleep at the desk. Haven't got any questions that have come through yet, but yeah, definitely if you've got questions, flick them through and we'll go through them.
Cool. All right, so let's keep going with Sales Hub. Another thing that you might want to have a look at is deal activity and what I call deal movement. So the movement between stages. That gives you insight on, well, firstly, are deals being worked on? So the activity, are deals being worked on often enough so that they can go through the pipeline, and where are deals moving from a specific stage. So you might have stage number 2, and you might find that a lot of deals are actually jumping straight to stage number 5, for example. So that's really good to know as well. So here we've got 2 reports. The active and inactive deals looks at, so in HubSpot, when you look at your deal pipeline, you can have deals that are grayed out, that look grayed out. So that's what HubSpot calls inactive deals. So it's more than 2 weeks. So we just created a property that is flagging the deal as inactive when there hasn't been activity for 14 days. And in this case, we also added two different statuses, I guess, which is close to expiry because our client didn't want any deal to not being worked on for more than 60 days. So when it gets close to those 60 days, it flags them as close to expiry, because if there hasn't been any movement in 45 days, it's probable that they'll drop off. And then you've got expired deals, which is more than 60 days. And when they're expired for that client, they actually automatically go to closed loss. So that helps you have a look at how well you are actually working on your deals. And same thing, you can split that by sales rep. And the second one here is looking at a specific deal stage, which is proposal sent. And it looks at the movement from that stage. So where are your deals going to once they've entered that stage? So it's based on the entered proposal sent stage property, which is a date picker. So as soon as they enter the stage, they're flagged as having entered the stage. And the report looks at 60 days later, where are those deals that entered the stage. So you can see that in green, that means that they go forward. So they went forward to order received. In aqua, it's actually that they were closed won. And in yellow, they're still in the same stage. And in red, you'd have they actually went backwards, for example. So that might help you have a look at what happens at each stage. And if you find that there's a stage, for example, proposal sent, a lot of your deals are actually going backwards after that, you might want to fix something in your process. Another thing that's important, similar to the ticket reports that we went to, is the time spent in stages. So that will help you find out where are your deals getting stuck at. Is there an obvious difference between deals that are eventually won and those that are lost? So here I've got two reports. That's the exact same report. It looks at the average time spent in each stage, but the top one is for deals won and the bottom one is for deals lost. And you can see that's probably not too much of a surprise, but the deals won tend to be a lot faster than the deals lost. So that might help you in your process. If you find that a deal is taking a long time at an early stage, that might be a red flag that this one is actually going to drop off. And if you see that, for example, like deals lost tend to spend a lot of time at a specific stage, then that might be a stage that you want to really work on to make sure that clients or potential clients don't stay at that stage for too long.
But the other side of that is, like in our experience, we work with a lot of nonprofits. That means that we quote out a lot of projects that we're waiting on a grant to be approved before that project can go ahead. So we identified that a lot of these nonprofit projects were sitting in a pending approval state for a long time. So we created a separate category for them, which was awaiting grant approval. And that way if we've got a verbal okay from the client, but we know that they have to apply for a grant to do that project, we move them into the other stage, at which point we know that they'll probably spend 60, 90 days in that stage because they've got to get their grant approved. So if it's not only a sign that there might be an issue with that sale, but it might also be a sign that maybe there's some extra steps that you can put into your sales process that reflect the way that your customers are buying in your customer journey. And then you can automate those different stages and report on them separately.
Another one that's interesting is to have a look at the number of activities it actually takes you for a deal to reach a specific stage. So that's this report here. So you can look, you can see, for example, that in the past year, for a deal to reach the proposal sent stage, it took on average a little bit over 50 activities. So that's quite a bit. So that might give you some insight as to what kind of workload from your sales reps you're actually looking at for a deal to actually be won. So you can see here, for example, as well, on average, it's just over 60 activities for a deal to be won on average, which if it's emails, you take, that's 5 minutes per email. It's actually quite a fair bit of time. As well, you might add the time to prepare the proposal and stuff. So That'll give you a bit of insight over that. Another really important one to have a look at to help you with your forecast and to also help you close more deals is looking at won lost ratio and closed lost reasons. So that's the two that are there. The closed won versus lost ratio, basically this one looks at the deals closed in the past 60 days, how many have been won, how many have been lost. That way you can figure out, well, I need, if your close won ratio is 10%, that means that if you get 10 deals, you will only close one. So that helps you with your forecasting. For the close loss reason, what we like to do is to split them in categories. So closed loss reason in HubSpot by default is a comment. So you can create your own properties to actually look at specific keywords in those comments to split them in category. Because if you create a report like this, it will look at every single comment, which of course is generally going to be slightly different. So your report won't show you anything. If you split them in categories, you can actually see, for example, that the main reason for deals to be lost is the price of your product. Then you can act on that, for example. One thing that's good as well to have a look at is to create a previous stage property that is automated and that can help you understand what stage were the deals at when they moved to closed lost. So that might tell you that you get an insane amount of drop-off once you send proposals, and so you might want to either send proposals a lot quicker or to review your proposal process, things like that. So it's actually pretty simple to set up, and I can give you very good insights. Another cool one is to calculate your customer lifetime value, which this guy asked me to do for Refuel. So this one's pretty simple to do as well. It's basically just creating a few properties and just reporting on those properties. So the first one is the average purchase value, which they're all calculated properties. So which is you look at the total revenue divided by the amount of deals that you won. And then you've got your customer lifespan, which is for Refuel is the time difference between the close date of a customer and the date the customer's life cycle stage changed to past customer. So we've got that custom life cycle stage, which is once we've finished a project with a client, they're supposed to move to the past customer stage, and that will tell us basically the difference in time between the first time they became a customer, so the close date, and the last time a project was finished, and so they're not a client anymore. So that can be, if it's just one project, that can be 5 days. But if they come back 2 years later, then it'll be 2 years and 5 days. Purchase frequency rate, so that looks at the count, how many deals have been won over that customer lifespan. Customer value, so that's the average purchase value multiplied by the purchase frequency rate. And your customer lifestyle value is then the average customer value for all your customers multiplied by the average customer lifespan. Other considerations for sales. So as I said, compare your rep reports to company averages. Activity totals and by type. So you have a look at your activities, so your calls, your meetings, your emails sent, and try to split them by type to see what you spend most time on and possibly where you can make your process more efficient. Task completion, that's a pretty good one as well. Look at the tasks that you assign to your sales reps. Are they completed on time? How many overdues do you have in your portal? Things like that. Sales content analytics, so that's straight off the bat in HubSpot when you go to the analytics function. So you can find reports about the use of templates, documents, sequences, and find what you are using the most. And sales analytics and forecast, as I said, the HubSpot has a lot by default in the portal, a lot of different reports on forecasting and analytics that you can basically drop on a dashboard and use straight off the bat.
The one thing that's worth just mentioning there is sometimes you've got to have the data flowing into HubSpot to be able to report on this stuff. And so Ollie looked at the phone calls before as an example. If you're using a phone system that integrates with HubSpot, that data is in there, and you can provide that coaching to your sales reps. But you need that data to be flowing in. So you either need to be using a phone system that connects in with HubSpot. We use Cradle, but there are others like AirCall and JustCall. If you've got a 3CX phone system, that can be integrated as well. But then you get to have great conversations like, he's not on the call, so I can talk about him. Our business development manager, Sam, had a phone call with a client this morning. After that call, he just said to me, hey, do you mind just listening to that and giving me some feedback? The call recording is in HubSpot with the analytics about who spoke when, with the transcript of what was discussed. So actually being able to provide that coaching and that feedback becomes really easy. And that recording was in HubSpot 5 minutes after he'd had that conversation. It was all ready to go. So the power that gives you to be able to not just hold your sales team accountable, but to actually properly support them to be able to get the outcome that you want.
All right, now to marketing. So one classic, I guess, thing to look at with marketing is your contact sources. Is you've got all those contacts in HubSpot, where are they coming from? So that's a very easy, well, it's in the report library, so it's very easy to set up. Contacts created by source, so you can see, for example, here, a lot of contacts are created through offline sources, so through your sales reps, probably. So it's great to understand where your contacts are coming from, but how do those contacts convert? And that's where we can create some interesting reports. So these ones, for example, look at the conversion rates between the life cycle stages by the original source. So they're all based on properties that are triggered when a contact reaches a specific life cycle stage. So for example, you've got a property that is ticked yes as soon as a contact becomes an MQL. And it will stay ticked as yes because it reached that stage. And so those reports look, so the top one, for example, looks at all of the contacts that have been created over the past year, divided by month, and it gives you an insight on how many of them became a prospect, which for that client is an MQL. So in green is all of the customers that became prospects. In red are the ones that didn't. There's a few with no value, which we'll probably need to fix. But that gives you a good insight, firstly, of your average, how many of your contacts actually are MQLs. And that can also give you the way it is split over time. If you find out that you're, on average, 75% of the contacts that are created become an MQL, and last month it was only 50%, that might tell you there's an issue there. The bottom one looks then at those MQLs and look at whether they were qualified, so sales qualified, so whether they became SQL. So in green, they became SQL. In yellow, you can see that their qualification still pending. And then we've got another two. So the next one is looking at all those SQLs that were qualified, and it looks at has a proposal been sent to them. So in green, that's all the SQLs that have received a proposal. And then the last one looks at all those proposals sent and whether they actually turned to be a customer. So you can see all of that, and it's divided by month. So you can do the sort of the same thing with the customer journey reports. So customer journey reports, if you haven't touched them yet, they tend to look like this. So that's just an example. That's the demo from HubSpot. But you basically select your customer journey, select different stages, and it will look at the conversion rate between those stages. You can't split that within like different months. So that's why we created the previous reports. But you can go very broad with those customer journey reports. So for example, this one, let's have a look at ad interactions. Any of our contacts who's had an ad interaction with us. And then on our second stage, we've got page view. Have they viewed a page on our website? Then have they started a form? Have they submitted that form? Has a deal been created? So are there an opportunity, and did they become a customer? So you can see the final conversion. Cumulative conversion is people who went through every single stage. And you can see the time it takes on average to complete that journey and the average time between each step. So you can either set those up so that there are a real flow, so the customers have to go through each stage of the journey, or you can make some stages or most stages conditional, or optional, I should say, so that people don't necessarily have to go through that stage. So you can see here, for example, I've got two different branches. That's because I have put from the ad interaction, I've put that page view, and the form submissions were actually optional. So some people went straight to having a deal created after they interacted with an ad. So you can go broad like that, or you can go very granular. So 2 years...
Granular.
2 years ago for Digital Adelaide, that was when I started with Refuel, we had a bit of a competition, a spinning wheel, and people had to fill a form for that. So I can have a look at people who have actually submitted that exact form or that have started that exact form. How many of them have submitted it? How many of them, because we send emails after that, how many of them have clicked an email that we sent after they've submitted the form? How many of them have had a deal created after that? And how many of them became customers? So you can see I haven't made anything optional here. But that's that's for one specific form. So you can go very deep into your data with those reports.
But we had a call with somebody just this morning that was running lunch and learn events and didn't know what their return was and didn't know what customers they were getting off the back of that. So that's a great example of how they can actually put that data into place and understand whether their lunch and learns are getting them the outcome that they want. Because we do lots of stuff that's nice, but we don't necessarily know whether it's tracking as an actual conversion or a financial outcome. But all of that is in HubSpot for your reporting, so you can find that out.
Another thing that's fairly new in HubSpot is the email analytics in custom reports. So that's something that's only been live for everyone, I think for 3-4 months maybe.
Yeah.
So same thing, you can go very broad or you can go very deep into your data. So I've got two quick examples here. The first one looks at the delivery date of your marketing emails or of our marketing emails and split them by day and looks at the delivery rate, the open rate, and the click-through rate. So I can see, for example, that the delivery rate is actually pretty impressive. But I can have a look at the open rate and the click-through rate, and on Friday, the click-through rate is when people receive our emails on Friday, they tend to click a lot more on it, which tells me that they're not busy enough on Fridays, but I can relate to that.
Speak for yourself, Ollie.
And another fun way, for example, and to show you how really deep into your data you can get with those email analytics-based custom reports, is I have had a look at what first names in our contact database, people we send email to, what first names have a 100% click-through rate. So well done if you're Naomi, Jill, Ben, Kylie, or Kayla. So that really shows you that you can find all sorts of data about the way you send emails. Yeah, it's actually pretty impressive. So other considerations for Marketing Hub reports, everything that's straight off the bat in HubSpot, there's a lot of good ones. So traffic analytics to look at your website sessions, where they're coming from, session to contact rate, session to customer rate, things like that. Context analytics, campaign analytics, how your campaign tracking, do they create deals, do they create revenues? Form submissions, you can go pretty deep into what forms are submitted, which ones turn into deals, things like that. And CTA interactions as well. Who's clicking on your CTAs, which CTAs are leading to deals being created, things like that. To finish off, a little bit on dashboards. So dashboards, to say it quickly, is to basically organize related reports into one view and to basically make them look good, make them look pretty. So this is an example of our service dashboard.
For me, they're more than that. For me, they are my snapshot into the important KPIs and what's on track and what's not.
Yeah. Yeah, sorry, I should have added that. And it's also, I personally find that when you've got a report and you're not putting it on a dashboard, they tend to get lost and never used because no one looks at them. So, long story short, use dashboards. And especially since in HubSpot, you can add all sorts of things to your dashboard. So you can add text and images. You would have seen the previous screenshot. Added a bit of Refuel branding to the dashboard. You can add external content. So that's Google Sheets. You can add a YouTube video. You can add your Databox reports if you're using Databox. You can add Google Slides as well, so you can really put everything useful into one dashboard. You can also write a dashboard description. You can tag someone. So if I've just created a dashboard, let's say like we're sending a proposal and I needed to create a dashboard about a specific potential client, I'm going to tag Ryan in that description so that he is flagged that the dashboard exists and he can quickly have a look at it. So yeah, your dashboards really give you a clear and visual touch to your reports. So it's important to take the time to build them well as well and to organize them well.
Cool.
Yep. So to finish off, remember, I put it in red so that people remember. Very important thing, your reports are only as good as your data, so you need to make sure that your data is accurate. There's no point building a very fancy report that you spend 2 hours making sure that it's built correctly if your data is not accurate. Make a plan for your reports. Sit down with your team. What is important for your business to know? And that can be what is important for the CEO, but also what is important for your team to know, for your sales reps. Do they want to know at which stage they need to really push a customer, for example, or a lead? Don't forget the presentation, and so use dashboards. It's important. A report is a lot easier to analyze when it's visual and when it looks simple. Try things out, especially with customer journey analytics, the email analytics. Then you try things out. I have tried a couple that looked very messy. Then you just refine them. So don't be scared of trying things out, and also review your reports, especially when they're new. You need to make sure that when you created your report, it looks good, the data looks all right. Have a look a couple of weeks later, ask your team, does that data look right? And if you feel like you can't trust that data, then just tweak it a little bit. Whew, and that is it.
All right, so we have a really important question, Ollie.
Yes.
Angela would like to see if you can actually show in HubSpot where these reports get created.
I can probably do that.
I mean, you create a lot of these reports, so I imagine that this isn't a big ask.
Yep. All right. So let's have a look in our portal. So firstly, a lot of the pre-made reports that I was talking about are here in analytics tools. So you can see that I've got service, sales, traffic, contact. So you can basically just go, let's go to sales, for example. And in here, you will have plenty of different reports that are already made and that you can actually save and use on dashboards. So you'll find that the personalization of those reports can be a little bit limited depending on your needs. But yeah, you can find them there. For example, let's like forecast. I can have my funnel created straight through there. Then let's have a look at that. So when you create your reports, the customer journey reports are here, for example. So let's create one here. Let's actually try to recreate the one that I was talking about with that specific form. So you've got all of your possible steps in here. So mine was a form interaction. So that was my stage one. And I can filter that. So, I can filter that by property. So mine was the form ID is equal to any of, I think it was that. I can look for the name of my form. That's the form right here. So now this will only look at form interactions with that specific form. If I get rid of the filter, it will look at every single form that we have. Then I said my second step was so that's who has interacted with that form, so who's started it basically. That's my stage two, the form submission. Then I had people who have, people who have clicked a link in a marketing email, and then we said that was the deal started. So life cycle stage. So for us, opportunity is a deal has been created. So who became an opportunity after that? and then who became a customer. And here you can see that I can mark stages as optional. So I think from memory, I'll put actually no, I didn't put any step. Anyway, let's just, you can select your date range as well. So that's the past few months. Let's do last 3 months. I'm gonna run my report. Oh, actually, probably not the past 3 months because that's a 2-year-old form. So you can see that there's no value. So I'm going to change it to 2021, refresh the report, and I'll create my, my customer journey. There we go. So we can see 30 form interaction, 30 have finished the form, and then you can see because I've made this stage optional, there's a few that have actually not clicked in the emails, but they were straight to having a deal created. You can also have a look at the contacts, that are actually included in this flow. Another cool thing that you can do, if it makes it more visual for you, is that you can show the drop-off by ticking this. It will show you basically where people drop off from in that journey.
All right.
All right.
So Angela said thank you.
No worries.
Have we got any other questions before we finish up for today?
And again, as I said, if there's a report that you really feel you loved and you'd love to have in your portal, just flick us an email and we're more than happy to explain to you how to build it. Yeah. Sorry?
Send over a loom.
Yeah, there you go.
So understand there was a couple of technical issues today. We will put the recording up on YouTube shortly and share it on the HubSpot events platform as well. But if you've got any other questions that come up after this, make sure that you send us an email or give us a call and we'll be happy to talk you through it.
Cool.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Ollie.
Thank you for having me. Oh, well, I don't, you don't have a choice. But yeah, hope it was useful. Hope it gave you a few ideas of reporting to use for your own business. And yeah, if you need any help with it, just flick us an email, call us, and we'll be more than happy to help.
Awesome. Thanks very much, Ollie.
Yeah.
Thank you.
See ya.
See ya.